Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us. So, tonight, many of us have been exposed to a certain extent to the wonderful new product, Immunocal Sport. And we're going to dig into that a little bit tonight. So, I'm not going to hear too much from me. I just want to let you know that for those of you who are brand new to this, Immunocal Sport is Immunotech's answer to high demand from athletes for a version of our world-renowned product, Immunocal. So Immunocal Sport was released a few months ago, and on tonight's Zoom, we're going to learn more about it. So it was many years in development. Immunocal Sport was the brainchild of Dr. Gutman, actually. And a little bit about Dr. Gutman. He's a board-certified medical doctor. He was graduated from the University of Calgary and then went on to take emergency medicine at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. He has had an illustrious career in medicine, which it's a bit lengthy for me to get into right now, but he's very famous in our world. He's also the chairman of the scientific board for Immunotech, and Dr. Gutman is also a respected author on the subject of glutathione. He has a big presence in social media. He continues to train people, and you can find him on his Facebook page or on YouTube. I mean, it's extensive what you can learn about glutathione by following Dr. Gutman on social media. But it was a great idea, Sport, and I think it was in the back of Dr. Gutman's head for quite a while. But when Mauricio Domenzane joined the company, that became the incentive and the catalyst to really get going on this product. So they put their heads together and came up with it. Scientifically, the product was developed to address the nutritional needs of anyone who desires improvement in their execution of physical activity, which includes Olympic athletes down to weekend warriors, as well as the elderly who want to walk around the block. But tonight we have the pleasure of hearing from Dr. Gutman himself. So, Dr. Gutman, welcome to the call. Can you just start and kind of give us a broad perspective? How did this product come about? Like how did it come about?
Well, we got to go pretty far back. I remember distinctly the first time I put together a sport product for Immunotech was Y2K. So there there may be people in Immunotech that weren't even born yet. I'm not sure, but since then, I remember presenting at least four or five different versions of a sports Immunocal, and several reasons why there were so many versions. First of all, as science evolves, which it does very quickly, the potential contents that you're going to use in a supplement changes as well because you're going to take advantage of research and new findings. So the sport product evolved as well. But the other reason why there were four or five is because every time I presented it to the executive at the time, they would look at it and go, "Wow, that's really cool." But I don't think we need a sports Immunocal. And as you mentioned before, it wasn't until Mauricio took over the company, he looked at it and he saw the potential right away, and it was a full in go for it. So we went through all the available literature back a couple of years ago. It does take some time to get a product out there, and I picked out the most promising compounds, and it wasn't easy because it had to suit a very broad demographic. Most importantly, it needed to be safe, and this is not the case with every sports supplement. And so I ended up with a bunch of options. And I had to consult with our scientific advisory board. And the person who was absolutely the most helpful was Dr. Nathan Lewis. For those of you who don't know the name, he is on our scientific advisory board, but he's also one of the chief scientists at a company called Oracle. And Oracle is a company that services mostly elite athletes, professional athletes, Olympic athletes, and they recommend different dietary and nutritional products to them to make them perform better or get them back up to par. So Nathan was extremely helpful, and with his consultation, we were able to put together something that's turning out to be very, very special.
We get that feeling. Those of us who have been following the science and watching what you guys do at head office, and then able to try the product ourselves. This is a very exciting time for Immunotech. What are the science and research that went into this? Like, what kind of research did you guys do? What kind of science? And did you have a demographic in mind that it was targeting?
Well, the wonders of doing research now is that much of it can be done through consultation with other people, through the use of the internet, the open access of the top journals in the world. There was a time, Doug, where we would have to actually go to a library, pull out books, order journals from other medical libraries, wait for them to come in. So this really has sped up our research. But the demographics, this is the real beauty here. I think what Immunotech has come up with is this really broad spectrum of people that we can improve. Everything from a dog walker to a weekend warrior, as you mentioned, to many Olympic athletes. And this is not easy to do because when you look at different supplements, what might be good for a 22-year-old soccer player is not going to be the same thing that a 55-year-old ping pong player is going to use. But we came up with the perfect blend of effectiveness, safety, and application to a broad demographic.
Oh, that's brilliant. So, did you have a control group then for this study, or for your research?
Well, we did not do a formal study on Immunocal sport per se. You see, we have our Immunocal, which has been subject to 40 years of research, and for those of you who know the Immunocal product well, you know that we've shown in several really great studies, we've established that Immunocal is just an incredible advantage for somebody who's looking for physical fitness. And we've studied that in young university athletes all the way up to frail elderly people in nursing homes. So we know Immunocal works for physical performance. And the other main substance that we use in the sport, nitric oxide, is really, really well studied. So you go to a place like PubMed, which is a repository of all the best journals in the world, and you look at the research on nitric oxide. See, we don't need to reinvent the wheel when we have access to things that are well established, but never been put together in a combination like this. So what we did, rather than do a formal study to prove something's already been proven, we selected a test group of people, and we were quite surprised how quickly they reacted and how happy they were with the results. So this was fast-tracked, definitely, but the literature is all there on the individual components.
Well, I wanted to ask what the ingredients were in sports. So we've gone over. So you mentioned nitric oxide, and we have Immunocal. Is there any other ingredients there that we shouldn't be aware of?
Yes. Again, if anybody asks what's an Immunocal sport, the answer is primarily Immunocal. And we're not going to do a lecture on Immunocal tonight. Those are, again, very accessible videos and literature and everything you need. The next thing that's in there is an amino acid called citrulline. And again, the literature shows us this is probably the best nitric oxide precursor for our broad demographic. It's the best combination of safety and effectiveness. There's something else called beetroot, which is more commonly known. Beetroot is obviously much more complex than an amino acid, but also is primarily a nitric oxide precursor. You're going to hear that term again, nitric oxide, several times tonight. But because it's a living plant, it delivers more than just nitric oxide. There's other phytonutrients and antioxidants. There's tart cherry. We used to have a pure tart cherry product. Good old climate change kind of wiped out a couple seasons of tart cherries, and the price was just too high for people to afford. But we've brought it back, and we put the tart cherry in Immunocal Sport. And tart cherry does two major things. One, it has melatonin, which is not only going to regulate your sleep, which is important, especially if an athlete's traveling around, but more specifically, there's a component in tart cherry that acts as an anti-inflammatory. And again, there's research, not research we did, but research on tart cherry, where they put tart cherry head to head with classical non-steroidal anti-inflammatories and scored equally well. I mean, this is talk about a natural anti-inflammatory. This is top of the class. And finally, something called magnesium citrate. For the keeners, you'll say, "Hey, isn't that in platinum?" Yes, it's part of platinum as well. And what it does, it buffers acidity. It takes care of acidity. And for athletes, what's important, the acid that comes to mind is lactic acidosis. This is why you have soreness and pain after you work out. So it's a really cool combination.
It sounds like it. We've mentioned a little bit about nitric oxide, and maybe we could focus on that a little bit because it seems to be one of the key functions or elements within sport. So what exactly does it do in the benefits of nitric oxide?
Nitric oxide is actually a very complicated molecule, but let's really simple it down. There's a medical physiological term called vasodilator. Vaso is short for vessel, as in blood vessel, and dilator means that it opens up these blood vessels. Blood vessels actually have a layer of muscle around them, and so they can open and close and allow different blood flow, either more blood flow or less blood flow. If you dilate them, there's more blood flow. And so what happens when you have more blood flow? What is the blood carrying? It's carrying oxygen. So you have increased oxygen delivery. What else does it carry? Well, it carries nutrients. It carries energy molecules like glucose. So you get nutrient delivery at a higher rate when these pipes are open wider. And finally, it's not just a matter of delivering oxygen and delivering nutrients. What about taking stuff away? Well, that improves too. You end up with toxin clearance. And so you can remove things like lactic acid quicker. So you're also improving the clearance of toxins and metabolites that you don't want hanging around in your muscle. So really, it just improves blood flow and all the benefits that come with it.
Sounds like something we can all benefit from.
Yeah.
So we've touched on this a little bit too, but let's just nail it down. How is Immunocal Sport different from Immunocal Regular and Immunocal Platinum?
Well, you see, this is so important. This is so important. And I recently had a discussion with Sharif Sayed, Immunitech's North American Vice President, about this. And we were looking at the phenomenon that people really like to pigeonhole things. When you say regular Immunocal is for Group A, Platinum is for Group B, Sport is Group C. It sure makes it easier to explain, and it sure makes it easier to market. But from a scientific perspective, it's more important to me, anyways. And if you leverage the science, you increase your flexibility in your approach on how to use these things. Yes, Immunocal is the base and basis of all three. That's the most important thing. And you all know about Immunocal and the acronym IDEA, Immune System Detoxification Energy Master Antioxidant. And if you don't, we'll make sure that you learn it. And it is really the basis of our history and our success. It is the incredible product. It's the only one of its kind in the world. Platinum, it's not like platinum is better than Immunica. Platinum has added features. This is what Sharif framed it. It's Immunocal with added features that could be taken advantage of. Anti-inflammatory, anti-acid, pH balance. So if you need it, it's there. Sports also is really Immunocal, but has added features that can be taken advantage for the person that needs to. So there's no reason why you couldn't use any or all of these types of Immunocal depending on the situation. You know, if you're a creative thinker, you can take advantage of all of them.
Right. So that's, thank you very much for that, because that really does kind of help us understand the role that the sport will play in our business and in our health. What benefits, now we look specifically at the sport, what benefits and let's just look at athletes and physically active users. What would they expect from sport?
So benefits, let's break it down into four major categories: the immune system, exercise and performance, power and strength, and finally recovery and resilience. I think this covers it all. This covers it all. Let's get into each of these in turn. When we look at the immune system in regards to an athlete, think of the three I's, okay? Infection, inflammation, and injury. So if an athlete has increased resistance to infection, wow, what an advantage. We've all watched football and soccer and hockey, and we've seen teams lose because of illness. And imagine you got 20 players on your team and somebody catches a cold, you lose 3 players. Well, you add that up over a year, and at the end of the year, your team is in 3rd place, 5 points out of first. Well, if those guys didn't get sick that many times, you may have been in 1st place. Inflammation, that's absolutely part of the immune response, and that's straightforward enough. And speeding up the recovery from injury, this is another major role of the immune system. So the 3 I's of the immune system: infection, inflammation, and injury. Let's go on to exercise and performance. Now remember, we talked about nitric oxide, and so what it does, you end up with better delivery of all of these nutrients to not just your muscles, but your heart, your brain, and other places. And what that will allow you to do is just increase the maximum amount of workload that you can do, the intensity, the endurance. All of it is going to be enhanced by the enhanced delivery of nutrients and the enhanced detoxification. When we look at power and strength specifically, now, when I say clinically proven, I'm talking about clinically proven by us, Immunotech. We've done this in several studies, and we've not only published these, but we've gotten approval from Health Canada to make a claim that Immunocal improves physical strength and endurance. Who else has that? who else has that? Nobody can make that statement on a authorized basis. Recovery and resilience, and this is interesting. Our former vice president of research and development, who's now serving as our research ambassador, John Molson, who himself is a world-class athlete, tells me that at least for the professionals and the elite amateurs, like Olympians, sorry, this slide is actually most important to them. Because if you can maintain an athlete healthy, uninjured, you can have him or her increase their tolerance to exercise and survive the season. And because you increase your tolerance to exercise, let me explain what that means. Many, many years ago, we had the greater part of the Canadian Olympic track and field team on Immunocal. And the coach, who was both a silver and bronze medal runner, he said that his normal routine for the team that he coached, they would do 1 day hard exercise and 1 day soft exercise. So it was kind of like hard day, soft day, hard day, soft day. After they started using the Immunocal, they were doing 5 hard days in a row. So imagine what their performance at the end of the training season going into the games were. And this all has to do with recovery and resilience. So John tells me this is probably the biggest one for high-level athletes. So here I'm going to stop sharing. But again, I'm going to try and get this stuff online, and you, Doug, are going to be important to share this video, because I think with covering those 4 major aspects, you've touched upon the most important advantages and benefits that sport can do for you.
It's just, this product has really captivated many of us. But what about a non-athlete? So I mean, I can see the implied benefits there, but maybe you can just summarize them for us. If you're not an athlete, should you take sport, and what benefit would you derive from it?
So think about what the benefits are from increasing circulation to the brain, to the heart, to other muscles, and one other body part that only half of our listeners have. I'm quite sure, in fact, I know that there are individuals out there who are taking advantage of that aspect, males. And let's consider that an off-label indication, but it is very real.
So is there anybody who should not take sport? Well, is there anybody out there at all that maybe should not use this product?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. This is very important, and especially as a physician, have an obligation to do no harm. And if there's any potential downsides, it's our responsibility as a great company to highlight this to people so they don't get into trouble. People with low blood pressure may or may not tolerate it. Remember, when you're opening up your blood vessels, you're giving that same volume of fluid more space, so it's possible that your blood pressure can drop a bit. On the other hand, that may be what you want to do. But people with low blood pressure should be cautious taking it. Try a little bit first and see how you feel. It may not bother you at all. It probably won't. But you need to know that. The other thing related to that is that people who are taking blood pressure medications, antihypertensives, particularly the type of antihypertensive that contains things similar to nitric oxide, and your doctors will know, the combination of the two may lead to an overcorrection of your blood pressure. So if you're taking blood pressure medications, Most people taking pressure medications will have access to a blood pressure monitor. So try a little bit of the sport, see what happens. Again, most people, nothing bad's going to happen, but you do need to show some caution. And always, Doug, I always say this about every supplement, ours and anybody else's. Before you start something new, it's always good to ask your doctor. And the rare thing that you might see with nitric oxide precursors, occasionally, and I've only seen this a few times in the literature, people with certain autoimmune diseases, particularly autoimmune arthritis, might have a flare-up. Most companies that promote nitric oxide supplements never even mention this. We're going to mention it because we are a company that is respectful and overly cautious. And I think it's a good thing to be overly cautious.
Yes. That's, that you're talking with a very small segment of the population.
Yeah.
Anyway, that would have to be concerned about it. But okay, so a final question I have for you tonight. I myself anyway, Dr. Gutman, I don't know if you're open to taking some questions if there are any, but the really get a lot of this personally. What's the best way to integrate sport into our daily routine as far as dosage and timing and things like that, of when to take it and stuff?
Yeah. There's that isn't really clear. I mean, I guess the simplest thing to do is, if you want to improve physical performance and that kind of thing, get a box of sport and take one every day. That's okay. But let's get just a little bit more sophisticated here. And I'm going to try again to share my screen. Hopefully this time I'll do a better job. Hold on.
I got it. Got it right away that time.
Okay, good. So let's look at different ways of using this. So I made a little grid over here. You'll see there's three things on your left, three different categories. The beginner, the weekend warrior, and people who are even more dedicated to their sports and their performance. People at a higher level, elite level, professionals, or just a really serious amateur. And let's look at the timing and also the type of Immunocal. So for the beginner, again, if you just want to take sport every day, there's fine, nothing wrong with it. But you can also just use it on the days that you're going to do exercise or the days you're going to be in a game. Use the sport. And ideally, the sport should be used as a pre-workout, meaning, like take it an hour before the event or half hour before the event, workout or game. And you will have the best benefit, because if you look at the nitric oxide and the pharmacodynamics around it, the timing would be best to take it about an hour before. And on the days that you're not going to be doing a workout, you can just take the regular. Nothing wrong with that. You can take the sport all the time, but this is just a step up in sophistication. Now, what about the weekend warrior, or the guy who plays hockey 3 times a week? So what I suggest is, in the morning, you take either your good old regular blue Immunocal or platinum. And again, it depends on you. If you've got some sort of ongoing health challenge, that has inflammation and acidosis, we take platinum every day. If you're, a 28-year-old marathon woman, nothing wrong with the regular. So that is tailored to your needs, and you may need both, because sometimes, when I'm not when I'm not feeling well, I may bump up to platinum. And again, use the sport as a pre-workout. So here we're looking at somebody who will generally be taking 2 pouches a day, one sport and one otherwise. And you could do it every day, or you could just do it on the days that you're going to be doing your workout. And let's look at the more advanced athlete. Now, these people are committed to their sport. They're committed to fitness, and they're willing to make a bit of a financial commitment to taking 3 pouches a day. And I counsel a lot of high-level athletes. More and more as time goes on, man, are we recruiting some amazing athletes and teams to Immunotech now. In the morning, take a regular every day, and mostly for your immune system. As a pre-workout, again, take the sport. And as a post-workout, the platinum, because that will be your best way to get rid of the lactic acid. That'll be the best way to alkalize or deal with the acid. And there's a magic window that most athletes know about, and certainly sports nutrition people know about. 30 minutes to 60 minutes after a workout or after an event, this is when the muscles are absorbing most amino acids and proteins for their growth and repair. So 30 to 60 minutes after your workout, take a platinum, or you can take a regular, but platinum would be best. So here you have much more sophisticated table that, if you have the time and the patience, study and apply what's good for you. Nothing wrong with just taking sport every day. Nothing wrong with it, and you're going to benefit from it. But we can fine-tune that. And finally, I added this onto the table. This is kind of cool. Here is the type of booster that would be best to combine with your Immunocal. So if you're going to be taking the sport, use the energy. If you're going to be taking a regular or platinum, use the reds and greens. It's that simple. So here you go. This should become a popular chart for people if they really want to do the best job in regards to the timing. You could learn a lot more about not just Immunocal and glutathione, but you could learn about the relationship of glutathione and sports at any of these spots. There's a Facebook page, which I update very, very frequently. I'm always putting the latest research on glutathione up there, including research on athletic performance. There's an Instagram account. There's a website here where you can get my book. Recently published a new book, both in English and in Spanish, and hopefully soon in French. So you can also get the book on Amazon, but this will probably be a little bit cheaper, glutathione.org. And finally, my YouTube page, where I'm spending a lot of time and effort adding more and more videos about both Immunocal and glutathione onto the YouTube page. And here's something new. Now the chapters in the book are available on Amazon. If you're part of one of those Kindle clubs, you can get these chapters for free. Here I posted, this one's not on sports, because the one on glutathione and sports is going to be coming out in a couple of weeks. Amazon's a little bit slow. I tried to have it done for this meeting. But you can go ahead and read an electronic book on glutathione and sport, and that'll be available soon. And really affordable. It may cost you nothing.
We did have one question that I think you sort of answered, but I just want to make sure it was Dr. Barry White. He was
Yes.
just asking, does it raise nitric oxide? Does the sport raise nitric oxide over time, or quickly, or what is the sort of like time frame that nitrous oxide will be formulated in the body?
Yes, so that gets back to the timing of the sport product, which ideally is a pre-workout, because it'll kick in easily within an hour, and will last several hours. But it will not last 24 hours, but it'll last a few hours. And when you're delivering nutrients, particularly to the cells by opening up these blood vessels, well, those nutrients are going to be there for the rest of the day. So, well, I shouldn't say the rest of the day. If it's glucose, it'll go quickly. But if it's an amino acid, it's going to become integrated into your cells, your muscles, and so the benefits are almost permanent. It's like eating something.
Beautiful. Well, that's thank you again so much for sharing your knowledge and helping educate us all on this new product. Was there anything else you wanted to share with us before we let you go, Dr. Gutman?
Yeah, this is like we learned, Doug, with the original Immunocal. The longer it was out there in the general public's hands, the more benefits we discovered about it. And when I hear anecdotes or testimonies, although they're not considered scientific, what they do is they open up the doors for us to know where we need to put our microscope, where we need to do our research. So probably if we did the same conference and from a year from now, Doug, it might be much more inclusive.